My computer was acting strange. Little things at first, programs opening slowly, the cursor freezing for half a second, random files appearing in my downloads folder that I didn't remember clicking. I'd chalked it up to needing updates or maybe a virus from some sketchy website. But when my banking app started logging me out randomly, requiring me to reset my password 3 times in 1 week, something in my gut twisted with unease. I sat at my home office desk in our Denver townhouse, staring at my laptop screen with growing suspicion. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and my husband Derek was at his sales job across town. The autumn sun filtered through the blinds, casting stripes of light across my workspace where I ran my freelance graphic design business. Everything looked normal. But nothing felt normal. My name is Isabel Reyes, and I'd been married to Derek for 7 years. We had what I thought was a solid marriage, occasional arguments about whose turn it was to do dishes, different opinions on whether to vacation at the beach or the mountains, the normal stuff. We'd been saving for a down payment on a house, pooling our money into a joint account while I kept my freelance earnings in a separate savings account. My safety net. The account I'd built from scratch, working late nights and weekends to grow my design business. That account had $47,000 in it. Money I'd saved over 5 years of careful budgeting and hard work. Except when I logged in that Tuesday, it showed $31,000. I stared at the number, convinced I'd misread it. Refreshed the page. The number stayed the same. $16,000. Gone. My hands shook as I clicked through the transaction history. Transfers. 5 of them over the past 3 months, each one moving money from my savings into our joint account. Amounts ranging from $2,000 to $5,000. Transfers I absolutely had not made. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of my desk, forcing myself to breathe. There had to be an explanation. Maybe the bank made an error. Maybe I'd authorized something and forgotten. Maybe. But I knew. Deep in my bones, I knew. I called the bank, my voice surprisingly steady despite the panic clawing up my throat. The representative, a patient woman named Michelle, pulled up my account. Yes, Mrs. Reyes, I see the transfers you're referring to. They were all initiated from your computer, using your login credentials, between the hours of 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. on various dates. 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. When I was usually at my volunteer shift at the community center, teaching basic computer skills to seniors. When Derek worked from home on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Is there any way to see what IP address those transfers came from? I asked, though I already knew the answer. I'm sorry, but that information isn't available through our standard customer service. You'd need to file a formal fraud report, Anne. Thank you, I cut her off, hanging up before she could finish. It wasn't fraud. It was theft. By my own husband. I sat there for 20 minutes, staring at nothing, my mind racing through every interaction over the past 3 months. Derek asking how my little design projects were going. Derek suggesting we, finally, start house hunting. Derek mentioning casually that he'd found the perfect house, and we should make an offer soon, that we had plenty saved up. We had plenty saved up. Because he'd been stealing from me. My phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Hey babe, going to be late tonight. Client dinner. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you. Those words that used to make me smile now felt like broken glass in my chest. I looked back at my computer, at the banking website still open, and something clicked in my memory. The random logouts. The slow performance. The cursor freezing. I'd worked in tech support during college. I knew what monitoring software looked like when it was running in the background. My fingers moved on autopilot, opening the task manager, scanning through the running processes. There, buried in the list, was something called System Monitor 32.exe, a name generic enough to seem legitimate but not quite right. I right-clicked, selected Open File Location. The program was hidden in a folder deep in my system files, installed 3 months ago. The same time the mysterious transfer started. Spyware. Derek had installed spyware on my computer. I felt cold all over, like someone had dumped ice water over my head. This wasn't just about money. He'd been watching me. Reading my emails. Tracking my keystrokes. Accessing my passwords. Monitoring everything I did on my own computer. How long had this been going on? What else had he seen? What else had he accessed? I opened my email, my hands trembling so badly I could barely type. Scrolled through months of messages. My correspondence with clients. My personal emails to my best friend Vanessa where I'd vented about Derek's recent mood swings. My private journal entries I'd been keeping in Google Docs. He'd seen it all. Every private thought. Every password. Every conversation. The violation made my skin crawl. I wanted to scream, to throw the laptop across the room, to call him and demand answers. But something stopped me. Some instinct that told me if I confronted him now, he'd have time to cover his tracks, to gaslight me, to make me question my own sanity. I needed proof. Undeniable proof. I grabbed my phone and took photos of everything, the spyware in my task manager, the transaction history, the installation date. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I called a lawyer. The consultation was brief and devastating. The lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Cho who specialized in financial abuse cases, listened to my story with a grim expression. The spyware is illegal, she said bluntly. Installing monitoring software on someone's personal device without their knowledge violates federal wiretapping laws. The unauthorized transfers from your account could be considered theft, though it's complicated since you're married. But Isabel, I need to ask you something important. I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. Do you feel safe? Has he ever been physically aggressive? No, I said automatically. Then paused. He's never hit me. But lately he's been controlling. Asking where I'm going. Checking my phone. Getting angry when I don't respond to texts immediately. Patricia's expression darkened. That's a pattern. The financial control, the surveillance, the monitoring, these are classic signs of coercive control. It often escalates. I want you to consider whether you want to stay in this marriage or whether you want to explore your options for leaving safely. Leaving. The word hung in the air like smoke. I'd never seriously considered leaving Derek. Despite our problems, despite the arguments, I'd thought we were fundamentally okay. That we'd work through things like couples do. But this wasn't a rough patch. This was betrayal on a level I couldn't comprehend. I need to think, I managed. Take all the time you need. But Isabel? Patricia handed me her card. Don't let him know you've discovered this. Not until you're ready. Men who feel their control slipping can become dangerous. I drove home in a daze, Patricia's words echoing in my head. When I pulled into our driveway, I sat in my car for 10 minutes, staring at our townhouse. The home we'd built together. The life we'd shared. All of it built on lies and surveillance. Derek's car wasn't there yet. I had time. I went inside and did something that felt simultaneously paranoid and necessary. I opened my laptop, pretending to work on a client project, and typed a message in a Word document. I'm thinking about surprising Derek with a weekend trip to Breckenridge for his birthday. Maybe book that cabin he liked last year. Should I use the joint account or my savings? I saved the document and left it open, then went to make dinner, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst through my ribs. If he was watching, he'd see it. And if he was the one stealing from my account, he'd react. An hour later, my phone buzzed. Derek, hey, actually might not be as late as I thought. Be home in 30. Maybe we should talk about finances tonight? I have some ideas about the house fund. There it was. Confirmation. He'd seen my document. He knew I was thinking about accessing my savings. And now he wanted to talk about finances. I stared at the text message, and something inside me hardened into steel. He thought he was so clever. Thought he had me fooled. Thought he could control me through surveillance and theft and manipulation. He had no idea what was coming. I texted back, "Sounds good. I'll open some wine." Then I opened my laptop and began documenting everything. Every transaction. Every screenshot. Every piece of evidence. And I started planning exactly how I was going to expose him. Because if Derek wanted to play spy games, I was going to show him what it felt like to have your secrets dragged into the light. And I was going to make sure everyone knew exactly what kind of man he really was. Derek came home with takeout Thai food and that smile he used when he wanted something charming, disarming, the smile that had made me fall in love with him 8 years ago. Now it just made my stomach turn. "Hey babe," he said, kissing my cheek like nothing was wrong. Like he hadn't spent 3 months stealing from me and spying on every keystroke. "I got your favorite pad Thai with extra peanuts." I smiled back, playing my part. "You're the best. Let me grab plates." We ate at the kitchen table, making small talk about his work, his annoying boss, the client dinner he'd supposedly had. Every word out of his mouth felt like another lie layered on top of all the others. "So," he said, setting down his fork with practiced casualness, "I was thinking we should really look at our finances. Make sure we're on track for the house." "Sure," I said, keeping my voice light. "What did you have in mind?" "Well, I was looking at our joint account, and we're close to having enough for a down payment. I think if we move some money from your savings, maybe 20,000 or so, we could make an offer on that house in Lakewood I showed you. The one with the big yard." 20,000. Almost half of what I had left. I took a sip of wine, buying time to steady my voice. "That's a big chunk of my savings. I was kind of keeping that as an emergency fund." His jaw tightened, just slightly. The smile stayed but his eyes went cold. "An emergency fund? Isabel, we're married. We're supposed to be building a life together. Your money, my money, it's all our money, right?" There it was. The guilt trip. The manipulation. Packaging theft as partnership. "I guess," I said slowly. "But I worked really hard to save that money. My freelance work has been unpredictable, Anne." "Your freelance work?" He laughed, but there was an edge to it. "Babe, you make what, 30,000 a year? Maybe? And half of that goes to your business expenses that never seem to result in actual growth. Meanwhile, I'm pulling in 6 figures keeping us afloat." The condescension in his voice made my teeth clench. He'd always respected my work before. Or at least pretended to. "My business has been growing steadily," I said quietly. "I've built up a solid client base, Anne. Look, I'm not trying to attack you." He reached across the table, taking my hand. His touch made my skin crawl. "I just think it's time we combined our resources fully. This separation of finances, it's not healthy for a marriage. It makes it seem like you don't trust me." The audacity. The sheer audacity of him saying I didn't trust him while he was literally spying on me. "Maybe you're right," I said, pulling my hand away to reach for my wine glass. "Can I think about it for a few days?" His expression flickered, irritation, frustration, something darker. "What's there to think about? Either we're partners or we're not. Derek, it's a big decision. I just need a little time." "Fine." He stood abruptly, grabbing his plate. "Take your time. But we need to make a decision soon. The housing market isn't going to wait for you to stop being paranoid about money." He went upstairs, leaving me sitting at the table alone. I heard the bedroom door close, harder than necessary. I sat there in the silence, my heart pounding, and pulled out my phone. Opened the photos I'd taken of all the evidence. The spyware. The unauthorized transfers. The lawyer's contact information. Then I did something I'd been planning all evening. I opened my laptop, navigated to our shared Google Drive where we kept household documents, and created a new folder titled House Research. Inside, I uploaded every piece of evidence I'd gathered. Every screenshot. Every bank statement. Every photo of the spyware running on my computer. And I shared it. Not just with Derek. With my best friend Vanessa. With my brother Miguel. With my parents. With Derek's parents. With his sister. Then I posted a carefully worded message in our family group chat. Hi everyone. I've just discovered something serious that I need to address. I've found evidence that Derek has been installing spyware on my computer and making unauthorized transfers from my savings account over the past 3 months. I've uploaded all documentation to a shared folder. I'm sharing this with all of you because I believe in transparency and because I need support right now. I've consulted with a lawyer and will be taking appropriate legal action. Please review the evidence before reaching out to either of us. I included the link to the folder. Then I hit send. My phone immediately exploded. Text messages. Calls. The group chat lighting up with shocked responses. I turned the volume off and waited. Upstairs, I heard Derek's phone start buzzing. Once. Twice. Then constantly, an angry swarm of notifications. His footsteps thundered down the stairs. He appeared in the kitchen doorway, his face white with rage, his phone clutched in his hand. What the fuck did you do? His voice was shaking. I stood, meeting his eyes calmly. I exposed you. You had no right, those are private, you can't just, he was sputtering, his usual smooth manipulation tactics failing him completely. Private? I laughed, cold and sharp. You want to talk about privacy? You installed spyware on my computer. You've been reading my emails, tracking my keystrokes, accessing my bank accounts. You stole $16,000 from me. And you're upset about privacy? I was protecting our future. You're always so secretive about your money, like you're planning to leave or something. I needed to make sure we were secure. So you violated federal wiretapping laws? You committed theft? That was your solution? His face shifted, the anger giving way to something like panic. Isabel, come on. Don't be dramatic. We can work this out. We don't need to involve our families. Too late. They all have the evidence. Your parents. Your sister. Everyone knows exactly what you did. You bitch. The words came out low and venomous. You calculated bitch. You planned this. Yes, I said calmly. I did. Just like you planned to steal from me and spy on me for 3 months. The difference is, what you did is illegal. What I did is called telling the truth. My phone rang. Vanessa. Then my brother. Then Derek's mother. The calls kept coming. Derek stood there, his face cycling through emotions, rage, panic, disbelief. You've ruined everything, he finally said. Our marriage. My reputation. Everything. No, I corrected. You ruined it. I just made sure everyone knew. He stepped toward me and I stepped back, my hand moving to my phone, ready to call 911. He stopped, seeming to realize how he looked. This isn't over, he said. Actually, it is. My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce proceedings. You need to leave. This is my house too. Then I'll leave. I'd already packed a bag, hidden in my car trunk. I'd planned for this moment, anticipated his reaction. But Derek? Everyone knows now. Your family, our friends, everyone. You can't gaslight me. You can't manipulate your way out of this. The evidence is public. I grabbed my purse and car keys, walking past him toward the door. He didn't try to stop me. Just stood there in the kitchen, his phone still buzzing with angry messages from his family. I drove to Vanessa's house, where she was waiting on the porch. She pulled me into a fierce hug. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. And so pissed I didn't see the signs. Inside, safe on her couch with a blanket and hot tea, I finally let myself cry. Not for Derek. Not for our marriage. But for the violation. For the months of being watched without knowing. For the trust that had been shattered so completely. My phone kept buzzing. Derek's sister, I'm so sorry. I had no idea he was capable of this. His mother, we need to talk. What he did is unacceptable. My brother, say the word and I'm coming to Denver. That asshole needs to understand he can't do this to my sister. But the message that made me break down completely was from Derek's father. Isabel, I owe you an apology. We raised him better than this. Whatever you need, legal fees, a place to stay, anything, you have our support. What he did is unforgivable. Even Derek's own father had taken my side. Because the evidence was undeniable. The truth was clear. Over the next few days, the fallout was spectacular. Derek's employer launched an investigation after learning he'd used similar monitoring software on his work computer, violating company policy. His parents confronted him, resulting in a family meeting that Vanessa reported back to me. Apparently he'd tried to claim I was overreacting, until his father pulled up the evidence and read it aloud. My lawyer filed for divorce and a restraining order. The police opened an investigation into the unauthorized computer access and financial theft. And Derek, who'd always prided himself on his reputation and image, watched his entire life crumble because everyone he knew had seen proof of exactly what he'd done. 3 weeks after the exposure, I was sitting in Vanessa's guest room when my lawyer called. Derek wants to settle, Patricia said. Full divorce. He returns all the stolen money plus an additional $10,000. He agrees to all your terms. He just wants this to go away quietly. Quietly, I repeated. He wants quiet. After 3 months of spying on me. What he wants is irrelevant. The question is this settlement acceptable to you? I thought about it. Thought about dragging him through court, making him face the full consequences. But I also thought about freedom. About moving forward. About not giving him any more of my time or energy. Yes, I said. I'll take the settlement. 6 months later, I was living in a small apartment in Boulder, my design business thriving after the publicity from the case had, ironically, brought me new clients who valued my courage. I'd reconnected with old friends, started therapy, and slowly rebuilt my sense of safety and trust. Derek had moved to Phoenix, his reputation in Denver thoroughly destroyed. I heard through the grapevine that he was working a lower-level sales job, that his family had distanced themselves, that he'd told people I'd ruined his life. And maybe I had. But he'd tried to ruin mine first. The difference was, I'd been fighting for truth and freedom. He'd been fighting for control. One evening, I was working on a design project when I got an email from a woman I didn't know. The subject line read, "Thank you. Dear Isabel, my name is Carla. I was engaged to Derek before he met you." He broke it off suddenly, and I never understood why. After your story became public, I reached out to some mutual friends and learned he'd been financially controlling and manipulative with me too, though I'd never fully recognized it. Your courage to expose him helped me understand what I'd escaped. And it made me check my own computer. He'd installed the same spyware on my laptop years ago. I reported it to the police. They're adding it to the investigation. I just wanted you to know, you didn't just save yourself. You probably saved his next victim too. Thank you for being brave enough to tell the truth. I read the email 3 times, tears streaming down my face. Not tears of sadness, but of vindication. Of purpose. Of knowing that exposing him had been absolutely the right choice. I'd lost a marriage. But I'd gained something infinitely more valuable, proof that standing up to abuse, speaking truth to power, and refusing to be controlled was always worth it. And if Derek thought I'd ruined his life? Good. He'd tried to ruin mine. I just made sure he couldn't do it to anyone else. That was justice. That was freedom. That was victory. And I'd never regret it for a single second.